Hello and welcome to my channel. This is where I talk about my life in grad school. This video is specifically for not high school students, but undergraduate students majoring in psychology or high school students graduating and interested in a psychology major. So, what do you need to know while you're in the psych major? Like, what do you need to do in order to figure out your next steps, basically? So, as you know, if you're a psychology major, there's so many different things that you can do. You can work, well, first of all, I guess you should really understand what it is that you are inclined to do, because if you are interested in nursing, you can be a psych nurse. You can even be a nurse practitioner and prescribe medications and work in a psych unit, or there are some nurse practitioners who have their own private practices, so they learn how, I actually don't know how that training goes, so I won't speak to that, but I know they have their own private practices, some of them, and a lot of them work in hospitals. So that's an avenue to go through. If you're not interested in that, though, if you're not interested in nursing or anything to do with medicine, but you're interested in mental health, there's you can be a clinical counselor, you can be a school psychologist, you can be a clinical psychologist, a neuropsychologist, a cognitive psychologist, a psychiatrist, but then you'd have to go to medical school, so that's again medical. You can, there's just so many things you can do. You really just need to research it to find out what it is that you are most drawn to. If you are interested in graduate school, think about taking the GRE, because a lot of programs require you to take the GRE, and it is just a graduate entrance exam that most graduate students take to get into graduate school. It's kind of like the ACT or the SAT. It's just one of those tests that you have to take. Some programs don't require you to take it, so look into what program that you're thinking of before you decide to do that. Then if you are interested in IO, there are a lot of things that you can do while you're in the bachelor's degree program to prepare yourself for an IO life, an IO career. Obviously, IO practitioners have master's degrees, most of them. I don't know of any that don't. And IO psychologists have doctoral degrees, and you can't be an IO psychologist without that, so I know that for sure. So if you are interested in IO, you can, one of the things that my professor told me when I was an undergrad and I was trying to figure out if I wanted to be a school psychologist or an IO psychologist, she told me to spend the summer really working at different places and trying to figure out what I like. So I spent that summer as a camp counselor. So I worked with children at summer camp all summer long, and it was an overnight camp, and I saw a lot of issues that they had, behavioral issues, emotional regulation issues, just a lot of and you know, you're a college student, you don't know what to do, it's a camp environment, so you're just having fun, and you're doing what you can, but you're not, doing any psychology type stuff. You're just having fun with the kids, making sure that they stay safe, keeping them safe, helping them engage with each other. I really liked it. One of the things I liked most that summer was I had a camp. So every week we had a new camp full of new people, new girls in my cabin. And one week I had these girls that my cabin was just divided. It was them and it was them. And I noticed it, and one thing that I did was I had the girls write on sticky notes different things that they like about each person that's in the cabin, and they had to read it aloud, and they had to stick it on that person's bunk bed. And then we had a moment of just realizing that people, it's not us versus them or them versus them or whatever, it's unity. And it was really interesting because it was the girls, it was the African American girls, and it was the white girls. both on each side of the cabin. And I was the counselor, and I had a co-counselor who was white. And neither of us had issues with any of the girls. It wasn't like they preferred one over the other of us. It was just friendship-wise, they gravitated towards their own races, and it became an issue where it was like very cliquey, and girls are cliquey anyway. But so I just wanted to break that dynamic, and it actually worked out a lot because the girls who had, and they all had low self-esteem. I mean, you know, you're a girl and you're tweens, is that what it's called? When you're 11, 10, 9 years old, and you have a lot of insecurities, and especially the population that we were working with. So they started to realize that people that are different from them see value in them too. So it's not just people that are similar to you or people that you have something in common with, it's people that are different from you too. They see value in you too. So that was really cool. And they ended up being friends. At least at camp anyway. After camp, they probably never saw each other again. Maybe they did, I don't know. But I liked that, and that made me realize that I do like, you know, doing things to help people with their emotions and with their behaviors and things like that. So that's less IO and more clinical. And then for IO, I didn't actually start doing anything pertaining to IO until graduate school, which is really interesting. I actually got what was it called? It was like kind of like an assistantship a little bit, but it wasn't called that. It was something where you assist the director of the program, and I basically just helped with creating the virtual career center, and I did things like posted little internships or jobs on our online forum thing for other students, and helped maintain our, I really don't remember. It was like, I started my master's in 2015 for my IO program. So it was a long time ago for me. So it's hard to remember exactly what I did. But basically you have to look for those opportunities. Another thing I did after my bachelor's degree was I went on internships.com, and I found an internship working with these cognitive psychologists, and I basically helped them create curriculum for people. It's not IO. Another thing that's not IO, it's more like educational psychology, which is another route that you can take. It's very, very interesting. But I mean, it all connects in some kind of way. But anyways, and I basically just wrote the curriculum. They gave me a bunch of documents, and I made it, you know, look nice, kind of a thing, and made it cohesive. I made videos for them, brochures, different marketing tools. So it's kind of like a marketing and educational psychology internship. And it lasted for about 1.5 years, because I was an intern, and then they actually hired me on as like, not hired me on, but like they started paying me as a freelancer, a freelance contributing editor is what they called me. And so I started getting paid for the things that I would do for them. So that was pretty cool. So internships can turn into freelancing jobs, and those can lead to other things as well, because you put it on your resume, and that shows people, oh, she's, you know, had some other experience. You know, and like with psychology, it's very hard because there's not a lot of people, you know, like organizations that understand what you've learned in a psychology program. When you really have learned a broad range of everything. I learned everything from IO psychology to cognitive psychology when I was an undergrad. There's just so many things, and the reason for that is because they want you to have a broad understanding of psychology before you specify into a certain thing, aspect of psychology. So if you are interested in IO, I would suggest going on internships.com, finding internships there. I found an internship in HR during undergrad. I think it was my senior year of college where I did that, and it was a completely virtual internship, and it was a small organization, and I basically was just, you know, leading a group of HR interns, and we basically just ended up being in charge of hiring other interns, training them. Was I training them? See, again, it was so long ago. But I remember interviewing, hiring, creating, basically just creating policies and creating vision plans, and I think I created job descriptions for interns and things like that. it was something that I could see myself growing into. But then after I graduated college, I was kind of like trying to solidify, like find a job and get paid and things like that. So I ended up ending that internship after a semester because I started it the last semester of school. So learn from my mistakes. Don't start internships in the last semester of school. We'll start internships as soon as possible. If you can do an internship every year that you're in college, that would be great, because by the time you're done, you've done 4 internships, and that would be phenomenal. Even if you're just interning at the same place every year, I mean, I don't suggest doing that, but even if you do that, that's good too, because I know somebody whose husband was a psych major and he interned at a place, and that was the only place he interned, and he ended up getting hired after he graduated, and he still works there now, and they're a couple of years younger than me, so he's been with that company for years now. So we all have our different avenues, but if you want like a bunch of different experiences, I would suggest going to different places. Don't stay with one place unless there's an opportunity for growth. In some places there is no opportunity for growth, and that's why they need an intern. As somebody who's a director now of an organization, like a nonprofit organization, we use interns all the time for projects, for projects. And that's a great avenue for college students, because you can put it on your resume. If you do a good job and have a good working relationship with the boss, you're able to put that person on as a reference as well. You can use anything that you've created for that organization in your portfolio. Just let them know that you're doing that, obviously, but because some places will be like, well, this is, copyrighted for us, and you can't use it duplicate it or use it anywhere else. So you have to be careful of that. But most places, I don't think, have a problem with that, at least in my experience. So yeah, do internships as often as possible. And where do you find them? You can, if you're a working student, you can talk to your boss about possible internships. Creating an internship where there is none is one avenue that I take all the time, or I used to take all the time. I don't have time for an internship right now because I'm doing so many things, but it's an avenue that I definitely used to take. I used to just create an internship out of thin air where there was none before. Hey, how would you like it if, do you think there's an opportunity for me to do this? And I always would start by saying, I've noticed this issue in the organization. Do you think there's an opportunity for me to throw some ideas off, like give you some ideas? I created a plan about this, and sometimes I would just give them the plan, and then be like, do you think there's an opportunity for a change management internship here, or do you think I can do an HR internship with you? If there's no internship opportunities, if they're not open to that, maybe they would be open to you shadowing them. So shadow your boss, shadow your boss's boss, shadow different people. Don't be afraid to ask those things, because they don't know that you need that or that you want that if you don't ask for it. So don't be afraid of that. If you are interested in clinical psychology instead of IO psychology, then I would suggest getting very, very good with science, because I feel like those are the classes that they really look at, and also math. Just making sure your grades are really high in those courses. If you're taking a biology course, make sure your grades are high in those courses, and things like that. I mean, for me, I was an average student. I'm gonna be honest. In undergrad, I was an average student. In high school, I was an average student, and I turned out to be fine, And then it wasn't until graduate school where I started to actually get really phenomenal grades. And I think that tells you a lot, because in high school and in undergrad, you're really focused on a broad range of subjects, whereas in graduate school, you're focused on a specific subject. So I learned that I'm very good at psychology type things. So that was even my highest grades when I was in undergrad, were my psychology courses. So I learned that I'm really good at like the psychology courses. And that's why I have such high GPAs in both of my schools right now. So I go to 2 different schools, 2 different programs. One is IO, one is clinical, and I have high GPAs in both. And that's because, like I said, this is my niche. Niche or niche? I don't know. It's what I'm good at. So understand what you're good at. Really look at your grades, and that's gonna tell you what you're good at. I know people don't like to look at their grades sometimes, and some people like freak out about their grades and get so anal about them. I was never that person to get anal about my grades, and that's probably why I was an average student. I just didn't care that much. I felt like, why should I work that hard doing something I hate so much? So to get an A for what, you know? And so that's just how my mind works, and that's why I have a hard time studying for things that I'm not interested in. But some people are not like that, and they'll just study really hard for different things that they hate, and they want to get those top good grades. So if you're one of those people, maybe looking at your grades isn't not a way for you to tell which, you know, subjects are best for you, or which subjects you like most, or where to go from here. But if you're one of those people like me who you studied, but, you know, it was never a huge thing. I was kind of the person where at a certain point in studying, I was like, I'm either going to know it by now or I'm not going to know it. And if I don't know it, I don't know it. And if I do, great, I do. And I would just take my test. That would be that. That would be that. And that was it. And so, but there were some people, and I was friends with some of these people who would they would study all the time. Not all the time, but they would study very, very hard for different things, and I just wasn't one of those people. And they would get A's and B's and everything. If they got a B, they would try and get that up to an A, but they would get those in everything. And the people that I knew that were like that, though, were people who wanted to be doctors of some kind, like medical doctors or chiropractors, or, you know, something in medicine or the medical field. And so that's probably why, because you need really, really good grades. You have to be very competitive. But those people already know that that's what they want to do. You know, they've decided this in high school or somewhere in undergrad that this is what they wanted to do, and that's what they're doing. So this video wouldn't be for them anyways. But if you're one of those people who have good grades and everything, or you're just naturally good at all of the subjects, maybe you should think about which subjects you enjoy most. Which classes make you most excited to go to? Which homework assignments can you spend hours on and not care about, you know, how long you're spending on it? You know, which lectures do you not mind listening to? Those types of things. Some other resources you can think of are going to your alumni support. Even though you're not an alum yet, you will be one day. And the people who were before you have graduated with psychology degrees. Connect with those people. Talk to your alumni people at your school. I don't know what it's called, alumni network. I don't know. At your school, and see if you can get connected with a mentor, because that's going to be very valuable for you. I've debated back and forth whether to sign up as a mentor. I just don't think I have the time right now to do that, but maybe in the future. But yeah, people who are older than you, who have done this before and who are in their careers, might have a lot of feedback for you of how to get into a field or what you should be doing now as far as getting into IO and stuff. But I think the biggest feedback that I can give you is to contact local organizations, especially nonprofits. Go on internships.com, things like that. Basically just get internships. Get internships as often as possible. If you are a senior, if you're entering senior year, get internships this year. Get internships this summer. If you are finishing school, and it's May right now, so if you're finishing school, now is the time probably to find a job. And if you can't find a job, then I would suggest getting an internship and, you know, working your way through that. Maybe like finding an internship in an organization that you know you'll be able to grow into, or just having an internship and working at the same time, which is what I did. I was actually a daycare teacher, and I was doing an internship at the same time for the cognitive psychologist I talked about. And then actually that internship, I think, helped play a role in me getting into the master's program for IO psychology, because I didn't have much going on. I had a bachelor's in psychology and I had experience working with kids, but that has nothing to do with IO. And so I wanted, I wanted to be able to show that I was, smart at something. And so I was, and so I had that internship, and that was like my back pocket, like card, like ha. And so I got into the IO program, and I did really well there. I did another internship while I was in there, and I think I did it for the whole 2 years. It wasn't really an internship. It was what I was talking about before, like the assistantship type thing. And I think I did it for the whole 2 years. And then I was still working with the psychologist at that point until around the middle of my master's program, and then I graduated, and you know the rest. I graduated, then I started the PhD program and another master's program in clinical psychology. So, and which both of those things have opened a million doors for me, so much so to where I don't know this time next year when I'm about to graduate from my PhD, what exactly I'm going to do next. Okay, what exactly I'm going to do next. So, we will just see. But anyways, I hope that helped you to figure out, kind of what to do as a psychology undergrad student. There are so many avenues. I know it's overwhelming, the amount of options that you can take, and so many people call like the psychology degree a waste of time or useless or whatever. Even people who have the degrees call it useless, and I just think it's hilarious because it's like you don't really realize how much you actually learn in undergrad, and maybe that's because they're not using those degrees. Those people, they're not using those degrees. So, but if you want to use your degree, then I suggest graduate school, and I suggest internships to get you into graduate school, and also to just get you some more experience in helping you to practice the skills that you've learned while you were in undergrad. So thanks, and if you have any questions or comments, you can comment down below.